Danny Lau here with Lion Real Estate, empowering individuals and families with financial success through real estate. Why are off-market properties a bad idea for sellers? Well, before I talk about why it is a bad idea, let's talk about what off-market properties are. Well, off-market properties are basically a seller, instead of putting the property on the open market and advertising the sale to as many potential buyers as possible. This seller chooses to withhold the sale publicly and not advertise it nor putting it on the multiple listing service. And if a buyer comes in and make a purchase and the transaction goes through without the property ever being advertised, then it will constitute as an off-market property. So why is it a bad idea? Well, let me share a story with you. I recently was involved in a transaction where I represented the seller. The seller owns a house. Her home is right in the middle, and right next to her on both sides, both homes on her left and right belongs to one family. And this family wanted to buy this seller's home because that way they can keep the entire family on the same streets right next to one another. And so the seller was offered a purchase from these buyers, and the seller was tempted to take the offer because to her that offer price was satisfactory. Now that's when I got involved, because I talked to the seller and I looked at her offer, and even though that particular number was satisfactory to the seller, because I'm really calibrated in the current market, it seems low to me. And I expressed that to the seller and I go, listen, you are doing yourself a disservice by withholding the sale. If these guys are willing to pay this amount of dollars, what is to say the next guy that comes along wouldn't be able to either match it or pay you more? So only way for you to find out how much your home is worth is by letting buyers compete against it. Well, that's when the seller shared with me the sob story. Husband recently passed away, really wanted to be next to the granddaughter. And, being the person, I am never a pushy person. And so I left that alone and I said, okay, these are all the facts. These are the data that shows you clearly how typically a on-market property is going to net a seller 10 to 20% more higher than an off-market property. And I just left it at that. A week later, I'm glad she called me back. And so she told me, you know what, Danny, let's forget the off-market transaction. Let's put the property on the market. And so here we are, pushing the launch and getting as many buyers on to visit the property as possible. 6 days later, we had 7 offers. And actually, I turned away a couple more because we would have received more. But then I just told them, in the respect of your time and your buyer's time, we have something that's much higher and stronger in hand already. And so 7 offers later, the seller is looking at an offer that is $50,000 more than the off-market transaction. That's number one. Number two, the terms are so much clearer because the buyers wanted the sale without giving the seller any headache. And number three is, amongst one of the 7 offers, one of them was from the next door neighbor who was willing to pay $40,000 more than what she was originally offering. So that was a telltale sign to me that the buyer knew that she was taking advantage of the seller. So as the seller, without putting your listing on the open market, You never know what the market is willing to pay for your property. Only by having as many people look at the property, all the interested parties come together and bid over one another. That's how you explore what the top dollar for your particular property is worth. Otherwise, you can go by appraisal, you can go by past sales comps, and those are very reasonable and data-driven information. However, that's not illustrating the whole picture, because comps and per square footage sales price only tells you as the information gatherer what has happened in the past. That does not necessarily dictate what is going to happen in the future. And therefore, only by allowing the exposure happen to your property, that's how you maximize your property value. Well, I hope this has been an interesting story for all the potential sellers out there. And if there's any other topics that you guys want to talk about, please feel free to let me know in the comments below. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please click like, hit subscribe button, and I will see you again next time. Take care.